The instant it happens, your body knows before your mind does. A tightening in the chest, a shallow breath, a sudden heat behind the eyes. Something has touched a nerve you didn't know was exposed. One sentence, one look, one memory, and without asking your permission, your mind begins to race. It drags the moment into the past, into the future, into imagined conversations that will never happen. You are no longer standing where your feet are. You are trapped inside a loop, replaying a scene that has already ended, yet refuses to let you go. This is the hidden violence of being triggered. Not the event itself, but how quickly it steals your presence. At first, the thoughts feel justified. You tell yourself you're being careful, reflective, aware. You convince yourself that if you think long enough, you'll find clarity, peace, or control. What actually unfolds is exhaustion. The mind circles the same point like a vulture, mistaking repetition for insight. Ancient Stoics recognized this pattern deeply. They saw how the human mind, when shaken, clings to impressions as if survival depends on them. A trigger arrives from the outside, but the suffering grows entirely on the inside. The event has already passed, yet you relive it as if it is happening again and again, each time adding new layers of pain. Truly fuels overthinking is the belief that this moment defines you, that a comment reveals your worth, that a reaction exposes your weakness, that silence means rejection. The Stoics warned against this illusion. They taught that events have no power over the soul unless the soul grants permission. When you are triggered, your mind rushes to assign meaning. It does so recklessly. It does not pause to ask whether the meaning is true, necessary, or useful. It only asks whether it protects the ego. So the story grows larger than life, heavier than reality ever intended. Overthinking feels active, but it is actually avoidance. It avoids the discomfort of uncertainty. It avoids the humility of accepting that not everything can be understood or resolved. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind colors the world according to its own condition. When the mind is unsettled, it sees threats everywhere. A trigger shakes the internal balance, and instead of restoring calm, the mind tries to dominate the moment by dissecting it endlessly. Control is not found through force. Control is found through restraint. To stop overthinking, you must first learn to stand still when the impulse is to run. The Stoics spoke often about impressions, the first thoughts that strike the mind. They are automatic. You are not responsible for their arrival, but you are responsible for whether you invite them in, sit them down, let them rule your inner world. When a trigger hits, the practice is not to react, not to analyze, not to judge, but to pause. To say silently, this is an impression, not a fact. That single distinction weakens the spiral. Your mind will protest. It will insist that this thought is important, urgent, personal. It will demand your attention like a child pulling at your sleeve. But Stoic wisdom asks you to respond with calm authority. You do not need to argue with the thought. You do not need to defeat it. You simply need to refuse to chase it. Let it exist without engagement. A sound in the distance that fades on its own when you stop listening for it. The next step is to return to what is within your control. Your breath, posture, your actions in this moment. You cannot rewrite the past interaction. You cannot control how others perceive you. You cannot guarantee future outcomes. Epictetus reminded us that peace begins the moment you separate what is yours from what is not. Overthinking collapses when it realizes it has no authority here. It feeds on imagined control. Starve it by grounding yourself in reality. There will be moments when the trigger returns stronger, especially in silence. The mind loves quiet spaces because it fills them with old noise. See this as failure. Even the most disciplined Stoic expected the mind to wander. The practice is not perfection, but repetition. Each time you notice the spiral and gently step away, you strengthen your inner discipline. Each time you choose observation over identification, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Slowly, something changes. The trigger still arrives, but it does not stay. The thoughts still appear. They do not anchor. You begin to realize that you are not your reactions. You are the awareness behind them. And awareness does not need to panic. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you stop feeding imagination, reality becomes lighter, quieter, more manageable. In time you learn a deeper truth: not every thought deserves an answer. Not every emotion requires expression. Not every trigger needs interpretation. Some moments are meant to pass through you, not define you. Stoicism does not promise a life without disturbance. It offers something far more powerful, a life where disturbance does not own you. And so, when the next trigger comes, you breathe. You pause, you watch. You let the mind settle on its own, like water returning to stillness after being disturbed. You do not rush to fix what does not need fixing. You do not chase clarity where acceptance is enough. You remember that your peace was never outside you to begin with. It has always been waiting quietly, beneath the noise, patient enough to return the moment you stop overthinking and allow it to.